There you are. Welcome to Zen Fits again here in Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world. But then you too are at the center of the world. Title of today's talk is Go Directly to the Light. Go directly to the light. Now, you know, I have, did you see Sixth Sense? And that little picture, I use it as a GIF of the little boy when he looks up at the Bruce Willis, you know, with this terrible suffering in his eyes, this compassion, and he says, I see dead people. I see dead people. And I changed that, and I wrote in it, I see metaphors. I see metaphors. Now, so here's a metaphor is a Zen fit. You know, what are you talking about? All right. A metaphor in literature is and I don't want the definition of it, but it connects to inconsistent ideas or incompatible ideas and creates a new idea. For instance, if you say, oh, he's a lion on Facebook. Well, he's not a real lion. He's not a lion. He's a lion on Facebook. So that's a metaphor. He is a lion. That's equal, right? Whatever that person is this. So A equals B. So when you put A and B together, they can't be separated, and you have a new idea, a greater understanding, a wider picture, you see. So the metaphor creates opposites, incompatible opposites, in a way that they can't be separated. And this really drives the literal fundamentalist minds crazy. They can't see metaphors because everything is what it is. So let's pull this cotton ball apart. What are you talking about? You're going to pull that cotton ball apart? That's a cotton ball. And I say, well, let's pull it apart. That's a metaphor. That's a metaphor. What would poetry be without metaphors? So let's pull this cotton ball apart. In the fundamentalist mind, my friends will probably write, well, that's a cotton ball. You can't pull it apart. If you pull it apart, you're going to have a mess. They can't make the leap out of the cotton ball. See, in the literal mind, and unfortunately, the modern mind is literal, is a fundamentalist mind. We think, oh, the fundamentalists are the evangelicals. No, the modern mind is a fundamentalist mind because we are stuck in form and we can't leap out because our language won't let us, our prose. So we have to go to poetry. We have to go to art in order to leap out of literal form, you see. So if I say, let's pull the cotton ball apart, that's a poetic way, not a manual. In other words, there's two kinds of knowledge here. There's the knowledge of the instruction manual. How do you do it? How do you do it? Well, if I say you do it by pulling the cotton ball apart, that doesn't make any sense to the mechanic. No. I want instructions. I want to know, how can I do this? Give me clear and distinct ideas. How can I awaken? I want instructions, God damn it. I want to know how to awaken. And I'll say, well, you have to pull the cotton ball apart. What? What? No. I want clear ideas, step by step. How do I do this? So that's our culture. Our culture is the culture of a mechanic. We want instructions. 4 easy steps. Oh, no. 3 easy steps. Oh, I'll buy that. No, 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 no. One step. Oh, I'll do that. What is that? I'll buy that. See, so I don't know how to get from here to there. And I say, pull the cotton ball apart. What? But I'm getting far from my topic. The topic is go directly to the light. Now, here's a metaphor. See, all right, so the metaphor right now that we're all involved in is how do we know? Now, how do I know anything? Well, let's look it up. Let's go find the expert. Oh, there's 5 experts. Which one do I choose? Well, I choose no, he's no good. This is the expert. No, no, this one here. Oh, you're all screwed up. This is the expert. No, 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 no. You're all wrong. This one here. This is the right one. So when you go to the experts, when you go to Google, you go to the library, you don't get a clear and distinct idea. You get a fragmentation of ideas or knowledge that's buried in the library. We bury knowledge in the library or memory, and the memory is either collective, which is the library, or the Library of Congress, the collective library, and my personal library. But our personal minds, I rely on my memory in my personal library of what I've learned, you see. So if somebody asks me something, I will go to my Rolodex and come up with something I've learned from somebody else that was buried there, and then I will come up with that, and I'll quote that as my authority. And they'll say, well, you're wrong, you see, because this is the authority. And so we're fighting over buried bones. We're fighting over bones that we buried or someone else buried, you see. And this is the way we think. This is the way we know. And so the metaphor is, I don't know what the metaphor is basically buried sunlight, knowledge. I'm trying, buried sunlight, buried knowledge is not the way. And in our economy today, our Western civilization runs on buried sunlight. You know what buried sunlight is? Carbon. Got buried millions of years ago. And we're running on it in the same way that we run on buried knowledge. You see the connection? Buried knowledge in the libraries is buried sunlight in oil or coal. And we light our life, we light our mind, we light our houses on buried sunlight. And it's running out. It's running out, you see. It's running out in mind because now we've got so much information, so much knowledge, so much Google, so many authorities, yada, 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 that we are drowning in knowledge. We're drowning in buried knowledge, and nobody knows how to go directly to their own light, to their own knowing is light. So how do you go directly to knowing instead of going indirectly to knowing, which is getting out a book and quoting the book or the Bible, you see? Neither the same thing, quoting the Bible or quoting the encyclopedia. What's the difference? It's buried sunlight. It's buried knowledge, you see. So we're at a crossroads here. We're at a breaking point. Both in our civilization, because we're running out of fossil fuel, not only are we running out of it, but that it pollutes the world. So buried sunlight pollutes the world we live in, and buried knowledge pollutes the world I live in, because I don't know what truth is when I've got 5 authorities, and all of which are contradictory to each other. So we go on the internet and we pick our authority. Fox News, no. CNN, no. Some alternate source, Joe Rogan or whatever. In other words, we pick our authority, just like going to the library and picking a book. This is my authority, you see. When I write something on Facebook, a lot of times they'll say, well, what's your authority? Who said that? And if I said, well, so-and-so said this, Plato said this, well then you might, well who's his authority? You go all the way back to the Big Bang. There is no first authority. You are the first authority, you see. You, but we don't trust that. We don't believe it. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust our own knowing. And ever since the 60s, and I've been around long enough to be an adult during the 60s, so I remember the 60s, there was a movement, there was an explosion of trying to find our own knowing. What is truth? Well, you can't trust the government. You can't trust the cereal factory. You can't trust pharmaceuticals. You can't trust anything. You got to trust nature. Return to nature. Return to nature, you see. What's that saying? Return to your direct knowing. Return to the sunlight instead of the battery-powered sunlight. Do you see the difference? We've stored knowledge in a great battery called the library of the mind, and we just draw on that, but it's all fragmented into different sources, and they all compete. This creates a anxiety because we don't know what's true, and also creates a great flatland, a great feeling of death, of meaningless, because I've lost the source. I've lost my own source of knowing because I've deferred to all the authorities. And now they're all fragmented. In the 50s, there was not that much problem because there was only one authority for truth in the 50s, and it was science. And that had been going on ever since Newton and Descartes. If you want to know what the truth is, go to science. Don't go to the church. Don't go to the priest. You go to the doctor if you're sick. Don't go to a witch doctor. You go to a science, a real doctor. And this began to fall apart in the 50s. And you can remember it exactly, most people do, when the doctors began to sell cigarettes. Oh, my doctor smokes Camels. He's a scientist. And yet the science is saying, oh, cigarettes will kill you. But my doctor smokes Camels. See the contradiction there? In the same way, the Catholic Church began to sell sacraments, indulgences. The priests in the late Middle Ages began to sell indulgences, like, oh, well, if you $100, I can get you a ticket to heaven. I can get your sins forgiven. It's $50. To sell indulgences, sell the sacraments, you see. And so in the modern age now, just like with the Catholic Church, just like with the end of the Middle Ages, we're at the end of the modern age in the same way that we were end of the Middle Ages. There is a question about truth. There is a doubt about truth. And nobody believes anything now. Oh, the government, no, the pharmaceutical, the medical, oh, the industrial complex, no. It's all folk, it's all fake. Well, who do you go to? Well, I go to my authority on the internet. We just exchange one authority for another. We've lost the ability to use sunlight. We've lost the ability to go directly to the light within and without. These two are connected. Solar power, light power, knowing. Who do you trust? Trust yourself. Who do you trust? Trust yourself. Have an original thought. Don't go and check it out with Google to see if it's any good. Don't go check it out with the authorities to get validation. Trust yourself, even if no one else believes it. Even if you're way out there on a limb, trust your own knowing when it's free from fear. True knowing is fearless. And fearless means not questioning whether or not you have the right authority or not. There is no authority. There is no authority. From the beginning, all beings are Buddha, says Hakuin. What does that mean? It doesn't mean all beings are Buddha, some guy in the past. It means all beings are knowing. All beings know. An ant knows, a flea knows, a dog knows. But a human doesn't know. He's got to check the authority, you see. Who am I? I don't know. Let me check the Bible. Who am I? I don't know. Let me check the scientific theories. A brain. I'm a brain. I'm a bunch of neurons. Oh, that satisfies it all. I'm a bunch of neurons. So, aren't you still left with the question, who am I? You just dug up a bone. You just dug up some buried bone of knowledge somebody buried down there and put in a book. Anyway, you see my metaphor here? You see my connection? Sun power, knowing power, they're both direct. There's no intermediary. Our culture, our economy uses buried sunlight. Our minds use buried knowledge. Knowledge is buried light. But conditions change, so the buried light is no good. It may be good for a while, but it certainly runs out as conditions change. As conditions change, your buried knowing, your buried knowledge is no good. Because it doesn't relate to reality. Living knowledge, direct knowledge, the light, the knowledge of light is directly related to conditions. Your knowing is the conditions. They can't be separated. But as soon as you bury that knowing, as soon as you write a book about it and put it in the library and get some credits and make some money off of it, it's buried knowledge and it's just another bone. Reality moves on. So the only way to know what's real is be directly connected to what's real. I am what I am. You're directly connected to knowing what is real. And what is real is very simple. It's just what's right in front of you. There's no intermediary. There's no words. You see reality directly instead of through words and through knowledge and through book learning and through this filter, you see. So there we go. We end up pull apart. That's the cotton ball. We just pulled apart. Was it a cotton ball? Or was this just a metaphor, a way of communicating what is beyond words? So metaphors, and you have to create your own, are ways of communicating what is beyond words, because words are stored knowledge. If I say this is a cotton ball, that is a stored name, you see. I could look this up on Google and I can write a PhD on a cotton ball. I can spend my lifetime just pulling apart a cotton ball. It's the seed, it's this, and all the slavery, and the cotton gin, and the whole history of the cotton ball. Get a PhD on it, make a lot of money. But that's not the metaphorical cotton ball. You see, pulling apart the cotton ball gets to the seed of truth that has no mediator, that has no filter of the known and stored knowledge. It is direct knowing. And the only way you can get to direct knowing is to penetrate the filter, the stored knowledge, and see directly. And so that's why metaphorical thinking, metaphorical language, poetry, art, is a way of getting to your direct knowing, is a way of getting to the sunlight instead of going to the fossil fuel in the oil lamp. Anyway, thanks for dropping in. See you tomorrow for another Zen Fit.